Hello everyone, I'm the Saxy Gamer. Today we're here for yet another Civilization 6 Wonder Spotlight, where today we'll be taking a look at the Oracle. So the Oracle is a fairly early game wonder that is unlocked with the Mysticism Civic. This does put it at an Ancient Era wonder, which is, it doesn't really mean too much. All that it matters is for the amount of tourism that the Oracle will produce, just because the earlier the era, the more tourism these wonder will produce throughout the game. And also it matters for the one policy card that gives you extra production towards Ancient and Classical Era wonders. Mysticism is fairly easy to get to as well. It's fairly early on in the Civic tree. To boost it, all that you have to do is found a Pantheon, which will pretty much naturally happen in every single game. So normally you will have the boost to Mysticism, and it is fairly easy to rush for it as well. Once you research Mysticism, you will be able to construct the Oracle, and as far as its building requirements are concerned, the only one is that it must be constructed on a hill, so the hill can have pretty much anything on it as long as you have the technology to clear what is on the hill, and as long as there is not a luxury resource on the hill, you will be able to build the Oracle there. So these are fairly lenient requirements for building, and thus you can pretty much pretty consistently have the ability to place down the Oracle in a game, unless you get really unlucky and you have no hills in your capital. Or the city that you're trying to build this in, but for probably 95% of the time, you will have a valid spot to place the Oracle. As far as production cost for the Oracle is concerned, it has a production cost of 290, which is significantly more than the other wonders we've talked about so far in this series, but at the same time, it is available a little bit later, so overall, as far as the amount of turns for constructing the Oracle are concerned, you can still expect the same relative range of anywhere from like 18 to 30 or so. So that is pretty average for most of the wonders in the game. Once you construct the Oracle, you will be getting some bonuses from it, and those bonuses are as follows. So you will have a minus 25% faith cost for all of your great people, so that's only if you're going to go and purchase great people with faith. So whenever you're playing a game of Civ 6, you have the option to purchase all of your great people with either gold or faith, and the Oracle will put a discount, a 25% discount on the faith cost for all of the great people for the rest of the game. In addition to this, you will be getting 2 Great People points for all districts in the city. That pretty much just applies 2 Great People points of that respective district type to all of the districts in the city. So if you build a campus, you're going to be getting 2 additional Great People points. So normally you would get 1, instead you'll be getting 3. Same thing with theater squares for Great Writer points, commercial hubs for Great Merchant points, and so on and so on. So that part is very nice. We also do get some straight up yields as well, so it does provide 1 culture and 1 faith, neither of which are particularly strong. So overall, as far as the Oracle's bonuses are concerned, I think that one of them is really strong, and that is the 2 Great People points for all districts in the city, because this makes it very easy to get those early Great People secured. So some of the early Great People are some of the best ones in the game, such as Hypatia. Some of the other early Great Scientists are very helpful, such as Newton for securing your spot in the scientific game, because if you get those Great People, it can help boost your science yield for the rest of the game in all of your cities, which does make them pretty valuable to get. So the Oracle does make it a little bit easier to secure them. It just kind of makes it so that you're not guaranteed early Great People, but your chances of getting early Great People is much higher than it would be without having the Oracle. Because if you think about it, normally, in order to get 3 Great Scientist points, you would either have to build 2 campuses and 1 library, or 3 campuses with no buildings. But with the Oracle, you can place down a single campus, and you'll be getting all 3 of those Great People points just straight out. So that is the biggest strength of the Oracle, I think, is its ability to get you those early Great People, and they can be very helpful for both culture and science victory. So for that reason, I think that the Oracle is pretty strong. Outside of the Great People, though, I don't think that its bonuses are all that great. You see what I did there? But overall, I think that the Oracle most of the time is worth it if you have the resources to get it, simply because of how good those extra Great People points are. And now it is that time to give the Oracle its ratings. So I have actually changed up the rating system and what I'm going to do based on feedback that I've gotten through the past 3 episodes of this series. So I am going to be using a different system this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give an overall rating for just the general quality of the wonder. I'm going to list some use cases for it, and I'm still going to put down the difficulty in building the wonder with assumed deity difficulty, and the consistency in being able to place the wonder and how consistent its bonuses are. So I hope that this will just give a more more, like a bit of a better overarching view on how valuable wonders are, because I feel as though the old victory type system just wasn't quite working. It made wonders seem like they were a lot worse than they were, just because if they didn't necessarily directly apply to a victory type, then their ratings looked really low whenever the wonder was actually really good, such as the Temple of Artemis. So let's go ahead, and with that system, let's go ahead and rate the Oracle. And one thing I didn't mention is that the overall rating is just going to go on a 1 to 5 scale, with 5 being a very, very good wonder, and 1 being a terrible wonder. So for the Oracle, I think that the Oracle deserves a rating of 3. It's a pretty good wonder. It has some good parts to its bonuses, some not so great parts to its bonuses, so overall I think it evens out, and it's a fairly average wonder. It can be really strong. So for the use cases when I would consider building the Oracle is whenever you want to secure more great scientists, writers, engineers, and merchants. And this is really applicable to both culture and science victories. So if you're going for science victory, you're going to want those great scientists, you're going to want those great engineers to be able to build your space parts and get more production, or to boost your science yields, or to get some free eurekas towards your technologies, and the Oracle can be very good for that, especially for the very early scientists and engineers, because getting 2 additional great people points can actually be quite significant and can put you ahead the competition and make it so that you secure a lot more of the great people. Same thing applies to culture victory. It helps especially with getting the great writers. You are able to get your first great writer, which then will provide more culture and tourism, which then will kind of just snowball into getting more civics, and then it kind of just works out that getting more great people for culture victory works very well in snowballing you towards a culture victory. The merchants can be helpful as well, because some of the merchants will give additional tourism modifiers or additional slots for great works, so those are both very helpful for culture victory. And much like with the science victory, the Oracle just kind of helps secure some of the early merchants and the early writers, and just kind of helps you get them out a little bit faster. So if you're going for a culture or science victory, I think it is very much worth it to go for the Oracle, as long as you have the resources in the early game to build it. For domination and religion, I would pretty much just ignore the Oracle. I don't think that it really applies too heavily, especially not religion, because the only great person that you're concerned with a religious victory is your great prophet, and if you don't have it by the time the Oracle's available, then you probably are not going to be founding a religion, at least if you're playing on deity. So definitely avoid the Oracle if you're going for a religious game. And for domination, I mean, I guess it can help you get like a few extra great generals, but overall I don't think it's worth the production cost. I would much rather just go ahead and build a bunch of units in the early game and take over cities and get encampments that way, rather than going for a wonder with a 290 production cost that's just going to give me a few more great general points. So for science and culture victory, I would consider those to be very good use cases for the Oracle, provided that you have the resources in the early game to spend on it. But for domination and religion, I would generally avoid it. As far as the difficulty for attaining the Oracle is concerned, I think it deserves a 3. It's not as bad as some of the other early game wonders like Stonehenge and Hanging Gardens, so it is a little bit farther in, which helps it, so that way the ridiculous speed that the AI gets to the very early wonders isn't really too applicable to the Oracle. Normally you can reach it by the time that they reach it as well, which makes it so that it's still a little bit more difficult than some of the late game wonders to build, but it's definitely not unattainable like the Hanging Gardens a lot of the times is. So for that reason, I think it deserves a 3, because there is some competition for it, but it's not crushing competition. And for its consistency, I think that the Oracle deserves a 4. It is fairly consistent. You are pretty much always able to build it as long as you have a open hill to put it on, which is probably at least 90 or 95% of the time, so it is very consistent with its placement requirements, and its bonuses are just generally pretty consistent, getting those extra great people points. The only thing that would prevent you from doing that is if you're not building districts in the city, but if you're not building districts in that city, then you probably have more issues than just the fact that the Oracle isn't going to give you bonuses. So for that reason, I think that the Oracle is mostly consistent and thus deserving of the 4. So overall for the Oracle, I think it's a fairly good wonder. I'd consider it to be like slightly above average, but really very, very close to average. And if you're going for science or culture and you have resources to spend on it in the early game, I would say go ahead, because it can be a worthwhile investment. And overall, it is still a pretty good wonder. So thank you everyone for watching. I've been the Saxy Gamer. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you're looking for more Civilization 6 content, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.